States right now. He is doing an exceptional job with the Marine Corps. So, son, we miss you. We love you. And that goes along with all of the other military personnel that are deployed all over the globe. Thank you for serving. Thank you for doing what you're doing so we have the freedoms in our country so we could do what we need to do. That's first and foremost. Number two, I want to thank all of the essential workers that are out there day in and day out, putting themselves on the front line, handling whatever they have to handle to keep us safe. And then all of the first responders, the police officers, the firefighters, all of those key first responders that never get the recognition that they do. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Today, I have a special guest on. There's a lot of people that I've had on that we talk about the topic of quote unquote adversity. And there's a lot of people that are, adversity coaches, but this gentleman has a special story from open heart surgery, having his, chest cracked open to qualifying to on masters on a national level, on a global scale. He's an extreme competitor. He loves life, and he's got a newfound mission that he's working on, and I'm here to support him. The second I was introduced to him, we immediately hit it off. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Mr. Dan Williams. Dan, how are you, my friend?
Doing well, Brad, and I second your emotion and stress emotion on the veterans and the frontline workers, the essential workers that are out there. We have a new form of veteran in terms of frontline folks, brave people that are risking their lives in order to protect ours. So I love your shout out at the top of the show.
Thanks, man. We got a couple people joining us real quick. We got my buddy Robert Hare, who's having surgery, watching us. What's up, Bobby? Good to see you. And then my good dear friend, Mr. Pastor Gibney, joining us. So let's get into it, man. I've been waiting for you to get on. I know you've went through some serious life changes and things happen to you. You keep fighting, and my edification probably doesn't do it any justice, but let people know just a little bit about kind of who you are, and then we're gonna dip down into some heavy topics to help people deal with what they're dealing with right now. You have a lot of experience in terms of things that you have went through, but most importantly, the accomplishments that you have made, and what it took to get those accomplishments. Right? You had to have a certain mind frame. You had to have a certain mindset. There was things that you had to do. So I want to kind of dig into that, but, tell the people a little bit more just kind of about Dan Williams.
Okay, Brad. Well, Dan is in extra innings right now, and I am blessed to be able to have survived open heart surgery that had many complications with it. I went in. One of the things with open heart surgery or any type of surgery when you're in a hospital is they want you to avoid pneumonia. Well, I had pneumonia going in and also was on blood thinners. And during a stent procedure, there's nothing that's normal. And when you're in a hospital procedure, but it was going to be a somewhat of a, standard procedure, and went in for that. And then many bad things started to happen, and the head of the cardiology unit actually called down the heart surgeon and said, it was one of those Houston, we have a problem type moments. And
were you healthy at the time? Were you a healthy guy? Were you taking care of yourself when this hit you?
No, I wasn't. I was in the midst of the corporate world. I was under a tremendous amount of stress, sales leadership positions. My diet wasn't anything to brag about. I had fallen out of, my passion for running in track and field. So I was in a very dangerous zone, not realizing it until this situation happened with the heart attacks that I had during the stent procedure that was followed by induced coma because it couldn't stop the bleeding internally. And then just trying to fight off dying from pneumonia that I had going in. But going into that veterans hospital that day, I was in denial. I was in denial, and it took that kind of an event to wake me up.
Mm. So I just want to kind of frame this because there's so many people that are probably going kind of through the things that you were going through. So you're in that I don't even want to call it. You're in the rat race, right? You're hustling,
Right.
you're going
Right.
to work, you're grinding, you're eating on the go. And listen, I've been in sales my whole life. It's just very fortunate I was in health club sales, and even though I was in health club sales, there's probably just as many unhealthy people in the health club industry than there is in any other corporate environment. So you're eating on the go. You're not taking care of yourself. And then when you got to the hospital, they said, "Hey, we got to put a stent in." That was the start of it, correct?
Correct.
Correct. And then it was just the ripple effect of just things that happened. What,
Right.
what were you thinking, like when you went in for the stint? Like, what were you just like, not me? Like, what was going through your head?
Yeah, great question. Well, I actually had, an incident a week earlier. I did have a heart attack a week earlier, but this is um, it's very, the heart attacks can be categorized. We often think about the elephant on the chest. I did have a heart attack,
Hmm.
and they figured in that it was not as serious for me to go through open heart surgery, that a stent was going to be the right approach in order to, cure the ills. So I knew that there was something going on, and that, I wasn't pleased with the fact that, it was a bit of a scare, but I had no vision of what would happen. Brad, I woke up. I didn't wake up. I, kind of came to. I remember going in for the stent procedure, and then 5 days later, I first thing I heard was my daughter, who was holding vigil by my side. I have four beautiful daughters, and she said, "Hey, Dad." And I remember hearing that voice. And the next morning, I started to come to, and my wrists were tied to the bed rails. I was incubated, could not speak, and I had no clue what was going on. I was very, very scared and frightened. So a lot happened in those 5 days that I've been told I went through, but it was a very courageous heart surgeon, very, very courageous heart surgeon, because he asked, my daughters asked when he said, "I never operate on one of any three conditions: somebody with pneumonia, somebody that's been on blood thinners, or somebody that, has had a recent heart attack." I had, perfect storm, all three.
Oh, geez.
And so my daughters asked, "Well, why did you operate?" He said, "I had no choice. Your dad was going to die." So it was a very, very scary situation for all of my family and daughters and friends. And that was, that's where I found myself, coming out of that stent procedure, out of a 5-day coma.
Yeah. And then what was the series of events that happened after? You go home, you're in recovery, you're going through a rehab.
Yeah, that's the story, and that's what I want to, that's, you have to put it the context to the story, and the story is new heart for life,
Hmm.
and not just figuratively, but literally a new heart for life. And the story um, began in the cardiac ICU unit. And Brad, I always talk about this when I do inspirational speaking, and people ask me about, how do you change and what happened. And this was the my first start at a new heart for life. And it was during December, so it was Christmas time. And at the end of that ICU unit hallway was a artificial 4-foot Christmas tree. And my first goal was get to that Christmas tree and back.
Mm.
And it was, I'd run previously in my 30s, 3 marathons, and those marathons paled in comparison to me getting out of that chair and making it to that Christmas tree. So I always share that story because everybody in my mind needs a Christmas tree. They need a small goal that they can attain. And then, as you led the question, that started my journey back into getting out of the hospital and being, surviving and walking out of that hospital, with the caveat, and this is the other important piece of the story, that you would have thought that a heart attack would be enough of a wake-up call, but it wasn't, because after about 6-7 months, just getting back to normal, whatever normal was, I did get back to work as fast as I could. I started to slip back into those old habits. I forgot. And I started to not exercise. My eating habits started to go, and that's part of a change process. When I talk about how change happens, it's insidious that we will, if we're not on top of it and top of mind, we will slip back into our comfort zone. And I did. So my bottom was not necessarily the heart attack in the scenario that we just described. It was literally one day, you know it when you know it. And I knew I had an inner voice came to me as clear as we're having this conversation right now. And it said, Dan, what are you doing? You are in extra innings, and you're going to go right back, and you're not going to make it the second time. And it was that inner voice where I felt bloated. I wasn't feeling good about myself. That was my bottom, Brad. Doesn't have to be something dramatic. That was my bottom that actually propelled me to reunite with my passion of running and master's track, that led me back to a life of a new heart for life.
Right. So let's talk about that. So you have this epiphany, bang, it clicks, it hits you. You're just like, this isn't, what was intended. Because a lot of people have that thought, right? A lot of people think about it. They're like, man, I know I should be doing it. It's that conscious. It's that your soul's kind of talking to you. You should be doing something, but you're not doing it. And again, I want people to hear this. So open heart surgery, coma, family didn't even know that you were going to make it. You make it. All of a sudden, they're happy. Life starts going. You start getting back on that treadmill of life, so to speak. And then you start going back into those same ways. That right there, that whole package, that is so common in America, right? I'm not even America, globally, but it's so common because people just go back to what they know. Right. They go back to those things that they used to do, or, let's even just talk about food for a second. They go back to that comfort food because that's what makes them feel good. And they're in that comfort right here. I think is probably one of the most pivotal moments, is from the thought into actually taking that first step. How did you do that? What were the things that you did? And I know, so I think I kind of know what your answer is going to be, but I want to hear it from you.
Okay. First, once that epiphany, as you aptly described it, occurred, and the point to, all of us is, it doesn't have to be something dramatic, but you know it when you know it. And what happened was, I made a decision. I just decided. I internally said, okay, I get it. I've broken the code. I am going to start to get back and to take advantage of this gift that I was so freely given. And so first part is, you have to make the decision. It can't come externally. It has to come from deep, deep, deep within. And once that decision was made, Brad, then I started to walk daily. And it was for 10 minutes, which turned to 15. And then I started to jog for 10 minutes. It turned to 20, it turned to 30. And then I reconnected with, I'm fortunate that when you make a decision, what happens is the universe opens up.
Preach it. Come on, Dan. Let's go. Talk to me, baby. You're going somewhere. Let it out.
The universe opens up. And what you think you're planning on doing, there will be gifts and opportunities and people that will come into your life that you can't plan for. It's just, just start, make that decision, start to take those steps. And then the world will then start to unfold with answers that start to map to your desire and your goal. And I got involved, I came across a magazine called National Masters Track, which had results of different master groups. I got connected with a local track team. I'm living my life in reverse. I now I've got a track coach. I've got great teammates. We have the camaraderie and very, very, they are as talented as they are people as they are on the track. And I've got the blessings of a great coach and accountability and camaraderie, competition. And I didn't plan that, Brad. I just planned on starting to walk. So the message with New Heart for Life is your bottom may not be, and hopefully it's not, a heart attack or anything as serious as that. But whatever your bottom might be, whatever you get to that point where you're just sick and tired of being sick and tired, just start to make the motion, and the universe will start to provide answers for you that you never could have envisioned.
That's such a powerful message on so many levels, Dan, and you have no idea how strong that vibration is and what it does. Like, for me personally right now, that message where you just said, like, you got to know when you know, and you're going to know, and you're going to hear the voices, and you're going to hear what you should do. And then divine intervention, God, whatever those powers may be, whoever out there, and what you praise, it's things just line up. Here, I'll tell the Conquer Your Conflict podcast, man. This, and like I was telling you earlier, this was going to be a whole studio set up down in my basement, right? But I decided to take action, just like you did. Let me ask you a question. I don't know if this is a hot subject. How old were you when you had your with the open heart surgery? What age were you?
Oh, no worries with age. This is one opportunity where you actually brag about age, because it's a whole different topic for me for another day. But it's a number, right? I was 67 at the time. I'm 70. I'll be turning 71 this July. So I was 67.
And just to hear that, and you said something so strong, Dan. Age is just the number.
Right.
I can't even begin to tell you. And listen, those who follow me know I'm kind of like a hoorah kind of guy. I love your composure, because it's just facts. This is what it is. You're 67, open heart surgery, got back into the rat race, started doing this, and then you made a choice.
Right.
And the power of making a decision. And for those of you watching, there's one arc that connects this. He made a choice, but then something powerful has to happen. And you're going to hear, those that have been following me recently have been hearing me say this stronger than anything. And what Dan did right, the next step after he made that choice, he did what he said he was going to do.
Right.
He said he was going to start walking. He did what? 10 feet, 15 feet. Went to longer. And every day he said he was going to do something. Let me ask you this, Dan. Was it easy walking 10, 15 feet?
Oh, I've taken this one. This has not been rehearsed, right?
Right.
We are live.
Yeah.
But that's a hanging high curveball, right? No, and what I have to share is, Brad, that this is not easy, right? You have to start to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Say it again.
This is not something you can read. It's not something you can think about. It's not something you can talk about. Even the walks, when I remember the days of my early running career, this lactic acid that builds up, right? If you do too much, it just kind of toxic. I would have lactic acid, from long walks, and said, boy, that it was a sign the body's talking to you. So it's never been easy in terms of the competition, the practices. And that's the whole point. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And what is in life that's worthwhile, that's easy? I mean, just you have to just grind it out. So I was motivated by that Christmas tree. I was motivated by my, and that goal and my coach and my track teammates. And I'm a firm believer in, and especially for those that think they are getting old. I mean, let me just dispel that myth. Retirement is an old concept. I mean, that concept is out the door. It's right now in this day and age, you can redefine yourself and start at any point in life. And I believe that it's prehab versus rehab. Because no matter how great a shape we're in, life's going to come at us. And when it does, then the better in shape you are and better fit you are, and you know this more than anyone, the better you're going to be able to adapt and take on that. And if we just drill it down to our present times in COVID, one of the best defenses personally for me that I subscribe to is keeping fit and active so that our immune system is on guard at its highest point in order to fight this virus. The better shape we're in, the better it's going to be. So there's work involved. It takes time. I think about the word or the acronym ACT. Action changes things. So you've got to act. And so all of that said, it may, as we do this interview, sound, well, this is great stuff, Dan. I mean, you're in shape, you're nationally ranked in the Masters organization, and you've got a great story. But listening to this interview might help inspire, and hopefully that's what our purpose is. I know it's certainly yours, is to touch one person out there with this story. But once that inspiration and that spark is planted, you need to water it, you need to work on it, you need to grow it.
Such a strong message, man. And that everything that we've talked about today for you is exactly why we're here together. Because, we have these thoughts, we have these emotions, we have the ups and downs, we have health issues that pop up and, smack you in the face. But the reality of it is you have to have some responsibility, and you have to have some accountability for you to live this life like it really is a gift. And if these current times didn't bring this to life to you, I pray for those people. Too, it's just there's a new appreciation, and at 67, surgery, coming back, getting on the field, all of these things that you're going through, and I don't know if I shared with you yet. I haven't really been public with it. This is the first time in my life that I've been thinking about my kids' children. I never thought about my daughter having a kid before. I never thought about my son having a kid before. Me being a grandfather, never. And for some reason, this emotion's been so strong. And you know what the crazy thing is that I keep thinking about? I keep thinking about when I'm 67 and when I'm 70. And I know this is going to sound a little superficial and a little kind of braggadocious. I want to be that jacked 70-year-old. Right? No, let me rephrase that. I'm going to be that jacked 70-year-old. Right. And because age, you said it's so strong. Age is just a number. And I know I have a lot of people that follow me from my LA Fitness days that, from seniors and above, there's so many people out there. And again, it doesn't matter how old you are. All you got to do is just make that 10-foot run, right? Go for the 15-foot run. Make it 20 foot the next day. and incrementally take a couple more steps a day.
Right.
You know, we're at an advantage in our lifetime right now, and sometimes it could be a disadvantage. And what I mean by that is we live in a life where everything's instant.
Yep.
Bang, bang, right. Bang, bang, bang. Instant gratification, instant gratification. We want. I want it right away. I want to see this. I want to do that. But the reality of it is, and I'll never forget this as long as I live, Dan. My best friend, I was always trying to think of how to get rich quick, right? It's a normal thing, right? How can I make the most amount of money? And I'll never forget this. My best friend, Tony Amato, said to me, he looked at me, he was like, Brad, he said, the only way you're going to make money is if you put your work in and take time.
Yep.
And that thing just goes into anything, a relationship. Yeah. You got to put the work in a relationship. Your fitness, you got to put the work in the fitness. Man,
time,
great message, bro.
Time takes time.
Time.
Right? Time takes time. Yeah. You know, I around, you know, and for people that may be listening to our interview, you know, the question would be, why is it so difficult to change? I mean, why is it, if you've got all these benefits, you know, and I've listened to one of your earlier shows about, you know, the committee that goes on, you know, that's conversing with us, you know, and what I've discovered is that, why don't people change? You know, there's so many benefits to it. Why is it so difficult? And what I've come to learn, Brad, is that people are, and I'm putting myself in this category because this was me, are more afraid of what they'll lose by change than what they will gain. So we're in that comfort zone. We're just innately want to be comfortable with what we know. And to take a step out of that, in the first stage is fear, you know, is pretty frightening, but we naturally gravitate to it. That's why you need that inner voice. That's why you need the drive. That's why you need to make the decision. That's why you need accountability in a team and people like yourself that, you know, help inspire others to stay at it. And all of those principles. But change is, as the saying goes, change is great. You go first.
Yeah. My buddy Pastor Mike is joining us. Listen to what he says. Great testimony. I had stage 4 colon cancer, 5 years clear. I'm working with a trainer at 55. I'm in extra innings too. Thanks be to God. That's Pastor Mike Gibney. Pastor Mike, man, and let me just tell you about Pastor Mike. Pastor Mike and his family used to come to the gym that I ran in Allentown religiously. Mike was there all the time, man, all the time, serving, working. And this just goes to show, you know, it doesn't matter what your age is. And then he said, this really resonates with me. Mike, I'm so glad that you're tuning in today, bro. Miss you, man. You said something, and I just want to make this correlation so people could understand what you just said. You just said people sometimes when they push away from change, it's because of the fear of what they're missing, right?
Right.
I'm just going to put this in health just to make it a simple story. People say, well, I don't not want to eat pizza. The fear of missing out on pizza. Right. And the only reason why I'm using this is I'm on day 75 of my 75 hard challenge. So tomorrow I have a pizza party planned. Like, I'm going to house some pizza. I haven't eaten. And I just, so you know, the people who know me, I love pizza. I love pizza and I love bacon cheeseburgers. They're both going down tomorrow. But it's that fear of missing out. Like, no, it's not a fear. Like, I feel good that I haven't eaten pizza. I could see my abs for the first time in a very long time. You know what I mean? So you got to embrace that, and you just got to hit it head on. Some words of wisdom, and just obviously you have years and years of experience, and you've went through so many just life-changing things. You're out there. You're let's say you're standing on the stage. Let's talk about adversity for a second, because I think this is a big topic, especially for you. Someone who's going through it, they have these thoughts in their heads. They have these feelings. They want to change. They know they want more. They can see more, but yet there's this this paralyzing effect that they have where it's keeping them from taking that first step, right? They're dealing with the adversity. They're dealing with the change. They're dealing with the loss. They're dealing with the financial stressors, right? And I know this is a big scenario to kind of cover, but from your experience, from your eyes, what's that conversation sound like? What's that message say that you say to people that are kind of going through this, coming from the heart? What do you got, Dan?
Yeah, it's a great situation. And, you can only share your experience, terms personally, you can't, I think the best way to help people change is by sharing your story. And of course, you need to customize it and dovetail it into their particular situation as best you can. So, I'm a big believer that, show and tell, and that if somebody sees and has confidence in your story and what's happened, and that's the whole power of New Heart for Life, then you might ignite a spark. So what I would say to them would be, well, here's what worked for me, and what worked for me was, as change is difficult that we've talked about, that physical fitness is at the top of, the umbrella of how you start to, move in a better direction. Because once you're fit and once you exercise, you can feel those endorphins and the dopamine, things start to get better. Your other life skills start to get better, whether it be work and family and relationships. So in order to start that, I would ask them what their passion is. What is it, something that they love to do? And sometimes when you struggle with that, I often say, think about when you're a child. What did you really enjoy to do as a child? And I was, mine happened to be running, but it can be anything. And once you have a passion, because there is a journey with many rewards, but that journey, as we've shared, is not trivial in terms of the effort and the determination and the grit that needs to go into it. So if you can connect with a passion, something that you love, then start towards that, and then find some other people that share your common passion, because we're not in this alone. I could never have done this alone. It took a lot of encouragement and support and training and skills and tips. So that's what I would say. If you can find your passion, and then exercise has got to be at the top of it, and that whatever that is for that particular situation, and then that will help you along your journey.
Such great advice, man. Such great advice. And again, that I know you've recently started watching. My message has been very clear since the beginning of mid-March. Number one, exercise, get the body moving, right? Just this morning, I was telling you earlier, and this is how important it is. And I want to show you people, and I'm going to keep this person's name out just for privacy reasons, but I'm going to show you the message that I got, and it just felt so good, right, to hear this. And I want to make sure I keep the name out. Can you guys see that? Thank you for a great podcast. I watch every single one because I'm saying just get moving. It takes 30. I take a 30-minute brisk walk every day. Can you see that? All right. I take a 30-minute brisk walk every day. It's great for the mind and body. And that right there, just getting moving, just like Dan said, taking that walk, taking the initiative to get out and most importantly, hold yourself accountable, because you only get one of these. Right? You don't get a carbon copy. You don't get a second. Right. Hey, let me go pick up the new edition of it. Right? That's it, man. This is what you got. Man.
Motion versus medicine, right? Motion versus medicine, right? You choose. Right?
Yeah. Which one do you want? Which one do you want? Right? And it's that simple. Like, and I think the strongest message for people. Oh, here we go. How do you encourage Pastor Gibney? Got a question here. I'm going to get back on that. The most important thing that I get out of everything what you said. How do you encourage and motivate people who need to get fit but are resistant to your encouragement. I have my take on this. You want to take a crack at it, Dan? How do you encourage and motivate people who need to get fit but are resistant to your encouragement?
Yeah, so great question, Michael. And by the way, congratulations on your new Heart for Life and your recovery, and your inspiration, that I'm sure that other people have felt. You know, I'm a firm believer that everybody needs a bottom, right? And I can only create awareness. I can only, and that's my mission now in life. That's why I'm here, is to create awareness. Once awareness is created, somebody has, with some tips and tricks and, experiences, if somebody doesn't want to change, then they haven't, with the encouragement and the advice and the suggestions and the modeling of my story, then it's not up to me. I can only do what I can do. And they're going to have to find their own journey. And I can only, I can only inspire to a point of sharing my experience. And it sounds pretty harsh, perhaps, but people will need to find their own bottom before they need to change. And hopefully it's not death.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Hopefully it's not. Mike, I'm going to add on to what he said. You can only do your part, but I think one thing that I have found in this time, because I'm pretty strong and intense with my message, when I'm on my coaching or I'm talking to one of my clients, and I've been this way since I've been a personal trainer, even in my personal training days, to a general manager, to a VP, I was very intense with my message, right? There was a certain kind of drill instructor like feel to my encouragement, right? Kind of shit or get off the pot, like make it happen. What are you thinking? But when people are resistant, sometimes that, and this is going to piggyback on what you just said, Dan, you didn't do it alone. In helping people, when you're trying to help people, sometimes your message ain't penetrating. I'll give you a classic example, and this is all going to make sense. I could tell my kid to do something 1,000,000 times. I could encourage them. I could tell them to do this. But then the second someone else tells them, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, this person told me to do this and I'm
right.
You son of a gun, you. Like, this is what I've been saying the whole time. So to answer your question, Pastor Mike, maybe sometimes it's just passing the torch to someone else and allowing that person to be someone to influence that may have a common ground. Just to give you an example, like if I were to, I'm just going to say, let's say I were to coach my mom, right? And I'm saying, Mom, you got to work out. Mom, you got to work out. Mom, you got to work out. And she's thinking of me like just being some meathead from the gym. But then let's say I found someone like my mom, same age, kind of in the same physical condition, and they inspire her. Now they're going to be she's going to be more prone to listen to that person. So yeah, that's a big point. So, one, you could only do what you could do. And then two, maybe kind of pass the torch and let someone else try to be that sphere of influence if they were that important in your life. And you really wanted to encourage them to take action on what you're trying to encourage them to do.
It's great. That's a great perspective of it. It reminds me of, when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive, right? And perhaps one person's encouragement, doesn't resonate. And to your point, well taken. Go ahead and encourage those people to, to keep on asking and keep on seeking help, advice.
And my boy Clint, he's a coach. He's a mindset coach. My boy Clinton, provoke them. He's the provoke coach. Provoke them. Sometimes you have to help them find the pain. And this is true. Sometimes you got to really get them to think here. And this is, I'm so glad, man, it's so crazy how just these tracks keep laying in the law of attraction. I've recently found what my pain is. And this has reinvigorated me to take massive action on a plan that me and my son are putting together, because of the pain that I felt. I felt pain. So that's Mike, if you're watching, sometimes you have to help them find that pain that invokes the movement, or the pleasure, whichever one that encourages them. For me, I hate losing more than I love winning. Right. So it's the pain versus play. Like, I hate losing. I get aggravated. I get angry. I get violent. I get aggressive when I lose. I hate when people say, "Oh, you're a good loser." No, I don't believe that. No, losing sucks. No, I'm not a good loser. I hate losing.
Shocker.
And it's like, what the hell? But sometimes, Mike, you gotta help them kind of bring that pain out. And even me recently, I found my pain was thinking of my legacy and, the torch that I'm leaving for my son and for my daughter. And that pain of what I thought, I was able to spark this emotion so down deep in that there's nothing that's like, I'm in full blown go mode. So sometimes that has to be. But one of the greatest things that, just to kind of recap here, Dan, and thank you so much for sharing your message with us. For those of you that want to follow Dan, if you kind of take a look down, he's got, first off, look up on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, Dan Williams. And then if you're on Instagram, it's New Heart with the number 4 Life, New Heart for Life on Instagram. He's got a great mission that he's on. Great service, great servant leadership that he's been given. And the one thing we're gonna kind of leave on this, because this ties into everything, almost every day that we're out here preaching. He made a choice. He had the feeling, then he made a choice, and then he took action. There wasn't no crazy formula. There wasn't no secret. There wasn't no, hey, I did this, and, I stood on my head and did the Macarena for 2 hours. He made a choice and he took action. That's as simple as it gets. Dan, thanks so much for being on today, brother. This was very cool. I look forward to doing this again here in the near future. We're going to stay connected. And any final words for anybody?
Well, to you, Brad, thank you for allowing folks like myself to have a platform to spread New Heart for Life message. And, to the whole theme of what we've been talking about, you don't have to do it alone. And we talk a lot about the grit and the work. There is so much instant gratification too, just to be able to, your self-esteem, your physical fitness. So, there's a tremendous amount. Fitness needs perhaps like retirement needs a rebranding of sorts. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And the work you have to put in, but the gains so far outweigh, the investment of your time and effort.
That's right, man. Pastor Mike is in here again, just saying great stuff. Thank you. He says, thank you. Thanks, Mike. And then my brother, Abrams, if you had a hard time, pray to God. That's the only way we live. That's my buddy, Abram, right there. Hey, Abram. This is my little buddy from down in the Warrington area. I miss you, buddy. And then my buddy, John Glass Jr., Thoughts, Beliefs, T-Bar. I know one from the military, FUBAR, T-Bar.
Right.
T-Bar.
Beyond belief, right?
Beyond belief, right. Thoughts, beliefs, actions. Thanks for joining, John. That being said, guys, this is another edition, Conquer Your Conflict podcast. And to everyone out there going through adversity, going through these tough times, that we all have conflict in our life. I don't care who you are, how much money you have, where you come from, where you live, how you were raised. We all have conflict in some way, shape, or form. My question to you is, are you willing to conquer your conflicts? And are you going to continue to fight the fight? At the end of the day, you got to own it. You got to own 100% of it. And you have to know that you are the only person that can create your world. Again, thanks for joining, everyone. My good buddy, Dan Williams, thank you so much for today. And until we'll see you on Monday, we got a great lineup for next week. So stay tuned. And again, keep fighting the fight, knuckle up. punch it in the throat. Have a safe weekend. It's Memorial Weekend in this crazy world. I know we're going to be doing some things. We're doing some family things here. So be safe, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace. Take care, guys.